Dame Lillard being someone who very naturally pulls up at half court in the All-Star game, the net barely moves, and we're kind of unsurprised by it because he can do that. In what world am I living in that's a good shot for him? The net barely moves from that distance.
I think Lillard has some crazy number of the percentage of shots from beyond 30 feet in the NBA that he just takes them regularly. To me, the thing that's fascinating, him and Curry, obviously, but to me, the thing that's fascinating is that he shoots from that kind of range, and it's not an appreciable difference in the technique.
The form.
Right.
Yes.
It's not like the two-handed
Steph looks the same from half court as he does from shooting
it's
from the three-point line.
Him shooting and just at a higher arc with more power.
I don't know if the rest of you are interested in the physics or the mechanics of that, but what Tony is describing and what I'm attempting to describe is the idea that the fingers at the very end of that are pushing a rolling basketball out of his hand. The precision of that from 35 feet seems absurd. And for 45 feet. 50.
It seems like you're questioning it, like he should be doing it differently. No, like there's a better way to do it.
It's not that I guess what I'm questioning is the fact that really it's not merely unprecedented, if not for Steph Curry, but it's also unprecedented on top of unprecedented, where he's figured out a different way to shoot. That's not how everybody's doing it.
Unique technique.
That he's shooting a basketball differently than all the other people who are shooting basketball.
And differently, like Tony said, that you would be coached to shoot. You would not be coached to shoot like that. He sort of found his own way. And if Wembanyama brings us to the NBA, is he going to be shooting from three-quarters court normally?
I mean, he shoots three-pointers off of one leg and no one can guard it. And if the sport keeps Stugotz, it stands to reason. If he
pulls up from his own foul line, man, I'm going to have issues.
Normal traditional shot. I mean,
it's not a good shot.
Did you see? So Brian Windhorst and Jonathan Givony went out to France to do the big profile on Victor Wembanyama, and he is one of the few superstars where the people around him are trying to tamp down what his height is, that they don't actually want it out there that he's 7'5" in shoes. He's 7'5". They list him at 7'4", and I think it's because they're afraid that 7'5" will make people concerned about injuries, but they're trying to tamp down how tall people consider him to be. They don't actually want it out there that he's 7'5", and the ESPN story said they're not certain that he's done growing, that he could be even taller.
Dear God, Stugotz.
I mean, San Antonio is really, really giving max effort to try and get this guy. They've lost 14 straight.
Are they going to beat out Houston? Who's going to get there first?
They're a game behind Houston in the stakes to get Wembanyama. So right now, Houston is 13-45. The Spurs are 14-45. But I'll remind you, Spurs have lost 14 straight. They have closed the gap.
Well, it doesn't matter because they've flattened the odds for the worst three teams. So you just have to finish in the bottom three to have a 14% chance at one.
Right.
But there's four clear teams that have decided we're all in on this. Even Orlando, they're 7 games ahead of Charlotte, who have the fourth worst odds. So those four, Houston, San Antonio, Detroit, and Charlotte, are all in for the 7'5" guy who can shoot threes.
And bum that this is the year that you can't just break the record for losses, because, God, that would be fun to watch. It would be fun. And as Silver's trying to control load management and my guys don't care and why they want to play 40 games and we want to get to the postseason with everyone healthy, and you would have such a great race if someone knew they could get the next LeBron, a 7'5" Giannis. A 7'5" Giannis.
Who can shoot threes.
If we would watch a team in professional basketball have 0 wins this season.
Oh, with the old system? Or if it was just like in the NFL system where you pick first.
If we had a confluence of events right now that the worst team gets that player, you would have a team in the NBA right now with 0 victories. And by the end of the season, if there were multiple teams with 0 victories, you would have them scoring in their own basket in order to get someone who would change your franchise.
They should play a series, a tiebreaker series for Wembanyama. Whoever loses gets him.
You're scared of his name. I do not blame you.
Like when the Texans played the Bears earlier in the NFL season.
But both teams trying to lose.
But what if they gave it to the team that won, though? And you like all of a sudden you go from losing all season to you're and would even those
That should
players
be the
try?
All-Star
Wait, so you're
game.
saying the Rockets and the Spurs play a best of 5 for the number 1 pick of the draft?
Yes.
With you have to win to
Ooh.
get it?
Idea.
I would watch that. I
The
would.
worst teams during the All-Star break play against each other for the number 1 pick in the next year's draft. That's how we fix the All-Star game. We just turn it into a high-stakes game between 2 NBA teams.